This week, we're going to be talking about the week of January 16th through the 22nd. The sun and the new moon in Aquarius, and Mercury goes direct. We are getting into a deep dive, and we're going to ramble through a couple of your questions. The theme of the week is going to be freak, because the new moon is in Aquarius, and it's all about flying your freak flag, being the independent individual that you need to be, because there is nobody who can be you except you. Mercury is going direct, which means continue to focus on clearing your plate before taking on any new projects until February 6th, when Mercury is exiting its retrograde shadow.
The weekly transit.
Astrology is a language that communicates how the planets and stars influence life on Earth. I'm Scott Tajarian. I'm an interpreter of this language. Join me and my co-host Ingrid Iverson, who helps bring an even more practical look at this astral language. The weekly transit is here to bring clarity to the chaos, so you can ride the planetary waves instead of the planets riding you.
The weekly transit.
I really love the contrast of our backgrounds here. I'm very bland. I'm wearing a shirt that matches my wall.
You're very incognito.
And you've got like pink and purple lights and a stripper pole behind you.
Oh yeah, you can see my pole.
Yeah, exactly.
I need more lights back there. I need more of all the things.
Okay. Okay. Get more lights.
Yeah, we need a...
And you have a deep background and mine's just flat.
You need to get away from the wall, Scott. You're smushed in there, aren't you?
Yeah, here's the wall right there.
We need to get you some like art.
I know.
Some astro art. We should put your
do
chart...
something for my background here.
Maybe I can think of something.
I need help. I need help for my background, and then I need help with like setting up like editing and stuff for YouTube videos, and yeah, I need help.
You're doing great, Scott. You're doing great.
Thanks, Ingrid.
So, what is going on? What is happening?
Yeah, what is going on?
Oh,
well,
okay.
Oh my God.
Before we get started, if you're new to the weekly transit, the best way to follow along with us is to go to the website, theweeklytransit.com, pull up the forecast. That's going to give you an overview of what we talk about, but also the visuals that we... I know what's happening.
Also?
Scott, nobody heard. But also the visuals that we show up here will be on the website, and then you can download or purchase a physical copy of the Basics of Astrology. That's a glossary of all of the pictures and the symbols that we're looking at here. And that's available on Amazon. It's available on our website. And if you want to watch, you can go to YouTube or Spotify and see our beautiful faces and all the images that we're sharing here.
Ingrid also says I look short.
Okay, Scott, no, just fine. Don't tell everyone.
Why not?
Secret. I think it's like the microphone you have.
Open...
The microphone you have is so big that you look tiny.
Yeah, exactly.
So I can't even think of anything that's happening in my life right now.
Okay, well then this creates an opportunity for us, Ingrid, to get into some questions.
Okay, perfect.
Because we have a backlog of questions.
Do we?
You want to Well, yeah. I wrote down there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 questions that...
Okay, I'm gonna ask you a couple questions.
Okay, yeah, we're not gonna do all 10.
So first we have, what does it mean when your rising sign is opposite your sun, and this person's rising sign is Aries, their sun sign is Libra?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Well,
what?
No, never mind. I was gonna say certain things in your chart are always gonna be like the opposite, but that's
not always the sun and rising.
That one's sun, not it.
Like think about it like this way, Ingrid. When we've got these different houses,
your north node and south node would be opposite, and the
north and south node are always opposite, and that's it.
Oh, that's
in
it.
Midheaven,
what about Chiron? I thought Chiron and your north node. No.
No.
Made that up.
Chiron could be anywhere. Yeah.
Oh.
So
I made it up.
There's 12 houses. The sun can land in any one of those houses. Any planet can land in any of these houses. So if the sun is opposite the ascendant, then depending on the degree, I mean, if it's really opposite, like if say the sun is at 15 degrees in, what was it, Aries, or their sun is in Aries? No, the rising is Aries. So say like the rising sign is 15 degrees Aries and the sun is let's say 13 degrees Libra, then the sun is in the 7th house.
Will you pull up the book
But
again?
they're in opposite signs. What's important to mention is like they're in opposite signs. Like the sun is in Libra, the rising is Aries. So the sun is the identity. It's the battery that's powering your human ship. And the ascendant, so if you look over here, we can do it like this. The sun, the giver of light, life, and vitality, the battery that's powering your human ship, and the ascendant is the essence of your soul. It's your rising sign. The rising sign is the essence of your soul. It's your personality. So it means that the way that people perceive you might be in stark contrast to who you actually are. Like if you're an Aries rising, people perceive you as somebody who's maybe very aggressive, when you're actually the core of who you are is someone who's very peaceful.
And so that's not even specific to this person's quest. I mean, it is specific to this person in general, but also your sun is always your kind of external, like something that everyone can see because it's like just coming out of you. But then,
well,
I mean, I feel like you're just saying the difference between the sun and rising, which applies to every single person, not just to this person specifically. Unless your sun and your rising are in the same sign, then there is going to be a contrast between those two elements.
There is, but I think the important thing to mention with this question is like the contrast is opposite. It's an even more extreme contrast. Okay. You know what I mean?
But everyone's can be different, but this person's in particular is opposite.
Like you are a Virgo sun and a Gemini rising. These are two energies that are in contrast with each other because Virgo's all about the details and Gemini is all over the place.
So that's why I'm extra crazy.
Exactly. Yes.
So, but not everyone's is in contrast like that, even though they are two different things. I guess it depends on what house or what sign it falls into.
Yes.
Because someone can have the same sun and the same rising sign.
And right. So that's not going to be in contrast.
Or it could be two air signs or two fire signs, which would be more similar.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
So like for instance, I'm a Scorpio sun, but I'm a Taurus rising. So people perceive me as being someone who's very chill, like Taurus, very
but Scott has no chill, guys.
Yeah, but I'm actually really intense, which is that Scorpio energy, which you don't. So like, yes, the sun is emanating out of you and it's what people see, but they don't really see that as much as your rising sign when they first meet you. It's something like it's layered. Like the first thing that people see is your rising sign is what you're showing to people you don't know in situations where you're uncomfortable, places where you're unfamiliar, if you ever feel threatened. That's what you're showing is your rising sign. So people that are Leo rising, you can always pick them out because they're the people that you can hear across the room at a party. They're laughing, they're loud. It's like Chris, the line you can hear. Well, Chris is not a Leo rising and Meryl's not. They're Leo suns.
Oh, yes.
But they do have that kind of big personality.
Aries rising.
No, he's a Sagittarius rising.
Fuck.
He's an Aries.
Well, they're all fire signs.
Yes, Chris is a triple fire. Whoa,
do you know what Meryl's rising is?
Her rising is Scorpio.
Okay.
So she
Well, I know these people really well, so no matter what I do, it's like I'm going to
Exactly.
see their sun sign. I'm not going to see their rising basically ever again because
And you're going to
unless I'm
see
in like a
their,
new environment with them where they haven't been there, like, I
yeah.
invite them to a party and they don't know anybody, maybe that I'm going to see some of that like uncomfortable or new energy from them. But if I'm in a normal situation with them, I'm always going to see their sun sign.
Okay, well think about Chris when he's a Sagittarius rising. People that Sagittarius rising, when they are around people they don't know in situations where they're uncomfortable, places where they're unfamiliar, if they ever feel threatened, they're very optimistic. Hey, what's up? How's it going? Chris puts on that good persona of like being upbeat and all that sort of stuff. Meryl is Scorpio rising, which is a little more guarded. It's, cards close to the vest. It's not showing that big personality right away. That's why even like when she's on stage, she's a little kind of like biting a little bit,
She's a
like
little more calculated. She's
the
not so like
Scorpio
wild.
sting. Yeah, like the Scorpio sting. She's got like some sarcasm, which
Hmm.
is a big note of Scorpio because like Scorpio is the deepest, darkest, most passionate sign. Like when you're living in this sort of dark, dark place, you look at things from a very sarcastic perspective because that's the only way that you can really bring light to the darkness. You look at all
Where's
the
where's Scorpio in my chart? Or do I have
where's
Scorpio in my chart?
do I have you have every sign in your chart. Every sign is in your chart.
But not they
Yes.
don't always fall in houses. They can have empty houses. But you're gonna always have all the signs.
That's a good point because that can lead us to like another question that somebody asked.
Wait.
Um
Will you go over that part?
yeah.
Okay.
What? You're Scorpio?
Yeah. Where does my Scorpio land?
So Scorpio lands in your 6th house. This is why, oh my God, this is crazy.
Wait. Will you pull up
Your
the
chart?
houses again, or just the
Or the
houses?
the houses? Okay.
Yeah.
So let's do this. Let's find the houses. Let's go to the houses here.
And
So the
then just so
sixth,
anyone listening, when you're getting a reading, I mean, Scott is obviously way more organized than this when we're just asking random questions to him. But like when you're getting a reading, it's something like this where he looks into each little detail and tells you more about, who you are, what
yeah,
makes you tick.
yes. So your Scorpio is in the 6th house,
Oh,
which is associated with the 6th sign, which is Virgo. This is the house of service, which represents the mundane functions of daily life, health, diet, daily routine, job. Scorpio is the sign of sex.
oh,
No, you work in a strip club,
hmm
and it's so there's like secrecy to that.
hmm
That's 6th house energy
and
is
also, well,
is
service.
Scorpio. Service,
I feel
yes.
like it is very
You're
much
providing a
service.
sexual service to
Hmm.
people. And that's your 6th house is in Scorpio, and that's the sign of sex, and the 6th house is the sign of service. When you get deeper too, now they're like, yeah. So yeah. Okay. What were you gonna say?
Oh, just that they're like very opposite. It's like Virgo is the virgin and
Mm-hmm.
Scorpio is the sign of sex.
Mm-hmm.
So it feels like
Yes.
kind of like
Well,
a dichotomy.
yeah. Well, look at this. This is why these here's Scorpio. This when you look at the symbol for Scorpio, there's the stinger. And when you look at the symbol for Virgo, it's the same as Scorpio, except the stinger is like tucked in. It's like the legs being crossed.
Oh yeah, that's exactly what I think. I always think of the
Yeah.
legs crossed and then literally the
Yes.
legs open or like,
The legs
like
open with
like a
Scorpio.
dick or something, It's
Exactly. It's a dick. It, this is the penis head.
I
If
mean,
we want to
really
get
though.
graphic
This
with it,
is
I mean that
I
may
mean,
help
this
you
is a stinger.
understand.
I feel
Yeah,
like I
it's the
just always make
stinger.
up, yeah.
Yeah, and so that's the nature of Virgo and Scorpio. Virgo's the lady with the legs crossed, and Scorpio's the dick swinging around. I mean that's how the symbol looks. If you want to get crass with it, that's why Scorpio represents sex and Virgo represents modesty. So, yeah, there you have it. So that's where your Scorpio is the 6th house.
And then you want me to read the one with the something about the 6th house? Is that what you were going to ask
No,
next?
I was gonna. Somebody mentioned one of the questions was, uh, where was it? I'm gonna find it here because it's a good transition. Oh yeah, how do you interpret intercepted houses in Placidus? They make me want to tear my hair out. LOL. This is from China, Odessa Murphy. Okay, so let's think about this. How do you interpret intercepted houses? So what that means is when you look at the house lines, and this will show up sometimes, especially for people that are born closer to the poles. The more close you're born near to the equator, the more even everything is. The closer you're born to the poles, the more everything kind of gets bunched up into one area. So like the way
Whoa,
to
that's
think about
crazy.
this, yes. So like the way to think about this is uh think about like summertime. In the summer, if you live in like say England or Norway or someplace like that, it's light outside until like 11 o'clock at night, maybe even midnight. If you get to the poles, the sun doesn't really even go down. So if you're living in one of those places and that's where you're born, the sun takes a lot longer to move across the sky, which means the houses are going to be very skewed.
Interesting.
Does this make sense?
Yeah,
So
that's
like
crazy.
when the sun is down and it's night, all the different houses or the different signs that are opposite the sun are going to go through the sky very quickly before they set. And so,
Like rising, it goes like this, but now it's like just a little piece squished at the
yes.
bottom.
So what that means is like the houses are going to be kind of skewed, where you might have one house that has two or three, four signs that are all in one house. And so if you have a house that has multiple signs in one house, the way that I interpret this is each house is like a dish. Or for instance, like Ingrid, in your 6th house, Scorpio is your 6th house, but there's two planets in that 6th house. There's Pluto in Scorpio and Saturn in Sagittarius. So what that means is that we've added a couple ingredients to that house. So if your house is just in one sign and there's no other sign in there, or maybe there is like a part of another sign but there's no other planets, then that is like an apple. But if you have a sign and then you have your house is in say Scorpio, and then your 6th house is in Scorpio, and your 7th house is in Capricorn, and Sagittarius, the whole sign of Sagittarius is in your 6th house, and say there's some planets in Sagittarius, that turns that apple into apple pie. There's more ingredients there.
Okay.
When you're thinking about it in terms of like transiting planets, when planets are transiting through a house, so if there's a bunch of planets in Sagittarius, but your 6th house is in Scorpio and your 7th house is in Capricorn, and your Sagittarius is not, there is no house in Sagittarius, but Sagittarius is in your 6th house. When planets are transiting through, it's going to take them a lot longer to get through there. So that's not all houses are the same size. Every sign begins at 0 and ends at 29. There's houses that can be 45 degrees or more. So that means it takes the sun 45 days to move through that house.
Okay.
That means that when the sun is, that means that that's an area of your life that needs a lot of work, a lot of development. So if you have a sign in an intercepted house or intercepted sign or whatever it's called, I let me see how she worded it. If you, where is this? Okay, yeah. Intercepted houses. How do you interpret intercepted houses? So if you have an intercepted house, that's an area of work. That's an area where you're going to be receiving a lot of attention planetarily over your life. That's an area of focus. Whereas the houses that are smaller are probably not as much of an area of focus for you in this life. I hope
That's
that
really.
makes
I mean,
sense.
this opened my eyes to just. I didn't even realize how the houses can be affected by where you are born on the planet. That just. I mean, it makes so much sense. Sometimes
Totally.
like before I knew anything about astrology, I didn't even realize it's really just a snapshot of where everything kind of is at that moment that you were born. So like all of the angles and stuff where you are on the earth, it's going to matter. And when the sun's coming up and going down matters. So it's more than just yeah, it's not as simple as, everyone just talks about like, oh, your horoscope. I'm like, well, that doesn't really mean shit. Like, honest, like, not to be rude, but the more you get into it, it's like, well, yeah, anyone can generally fit into those categories. But at the same time, like, when you start going into these houses, it's like, that's when it gets really more complex. And when you get like a reading from, if somebody gets a reading with you, you're really going deep and it's very specific to that individual.
Absolutely. I want to show an example, and I apologize to the people that are just listening, but because this is a visual thing, but I want
Well,
to pull
also,
up.
if you aren't, if this part isn't your thing, there's also time markers in the show notes, so you can skip ahead to Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday at any time
Oh
if
yeah,
you're,
yeah. Totally. So I want to show something from this program called Astro Gold. This does a really good job of showing
Yay.
what I'm talking about here. Like you can see, like this is some random city in Iceland that I've never heard of. I just put in there because it's Iceland and it's close to the North Pole. But you can see here how small some of these houses are right here. Like the first house, second house, and third house are all in Cancer. The
Wow.
seventh, eighth, and ninth houses are all in Capricorn. But then you have the sixth house. No, is that the sixth house is in Libra, but also Scorpio and Sagittarius, 3 signs in one house. So like if you look at the time going by, you see how this goes when the time clicks by. Let me do it by minute. It trips you out. You can see how the sun rises and how long the
Wow.
day is. Like here's the sun right here, and it's slowly rising, rising, and as it rises, you see the houses change into different signs. As the sun gets closer to rising, the third, the second, and the first house are all in Leo because this is I put in the date for August. But then you see as it rises and how long it takes for it to go up over the through the sky. And so, yes, I don't know. It's interesting. I'm a very visual person. So, like, when you look at this stuff, it kind of makes more sense. And the way that I look at it is it's just like a complex sort of equation. And I'm always,
Yeah,
you
it
just,
is.
yeah.
It's very
But I
complex.
think of it as like food. Like, if there's nothing in the house, then it's apples. If there's something else in the house, then it's, apple pie or apple crumble. It's like you have all these different ingredients in there.
And
So,
changes the flavor, the texture, the whole vibe as
yes,
you add more and more things to it.
exactly. Exactly. Now, if you look, like when the sun finally goes down, I'll skip ahead here. When the sun goes down, you look how fast it goes around. This is by minute,
Oh.
how fast it
But is
goes
this is
back
that only
around.
because it's summertime though?
Yes,
Because you picked August?
exactly.
Okay.
Like at this point in time, like August 16th at 10:27 p.m., like the sun is down, it's beneath the horizon. But look at how many planets are here in the 12th house. You've got Saturn and Neptune in Pisces. You've got Chiron and the North Node in Aries, and then you've got Jupiter and Uranus in Taurus, and you got the part of fortune in Gemini. So you've got 1, 2, 3, 4 signs all in one house. That's a lot of intercepted signs in houses or intercepted houses. So yeah, it's trippy. Anyway.
Okay, we have a bunch of questions, but I think we should move into the week because those
Yeah,
were
let's
kind of
move into the. We'll
deep.
get to those other questions on another episode.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna delete those two from our list because we got those, and keep asking questions. I love answering them, and of course, I go off on these long tangents that probably end up not answering the questions at all. But hopefully,
Or they answered a lot of questions.
or maybe they answered other questions that people had that didn't write
Or
in.
maybe
Hopefully.
we'll get more questions based on the answers.
Yes, exactly. So this is the week of Monday, January 16th through January 22nd. Let's take a look at Monday, January 16th. We're looking at the moon, the planet of emotions, in the fixed water sign, symbolized by the scorpion and the swinging dick symbol of the scorpion, Scorpio, squaring off with the god of wealth and time, the planet of restriction, responsibility, hard work, achievement, and authority, in the fixed water sign, or the fixed air sign, symbolized by the water bearer, not to be confused with the water sign, because the water bearer breathes air, and also the planetary ruler of Aquarius, Saturn. So there is something going on here today, Monday, January 16th, where there is a feeling of restriction in terms of the emotions. Maybe there is something that you want to express to the community that you are feeling unable to express. You're being restricted to express what you are feeling. Or perhaps you are feeling pressured by the community to express what you are feeling, needing to take responsibility for your feelings and expressing them, sharing those secrets with the community. It could be either way, but there are some challenges that could be happening with regards to emotions and the group context.
I mean, I'm also thinking along those same lines, but more like internal, where I'm feeling the pressure within myself that I feel like it's my responsibility to just share whatever this thing that's like on my chest is. I'm feeling a pressure to share that with the community, or a responsibility to the community to share whatever is inside.
Yeah, absolutely. If you feel restricted in your emotions and you're feeling like that pressure to share, but you don't, but you're like afraid, like, oh, I can't say that.
Yeah, it's never going to be easy. I feel like sometimes it's like, oh, it's a square. It's like, okay, well, yeah, it's uncomfortable to share something that might not go over well, especially if it's a secret. It's like, is someone going to judge me? Are they going to ostracize me? Are they going to look at me differently? And I mean, the flip side is, well, I mean, even if they do, well, then that's just what's supposed to happen, because you can't really be living authentically if people aren't really accepting you for who you are, because you're just holding all these secrets about yourself.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. There's something that needs to be released here. When you think about, the body part that is ruled by Scorpio, it's the reproductive organs, the sexual organs, but it's also the colon, the digestive, the digestive tract.
Or more private parts of
yes,
ourselves.
it's like bathroom activities. And so, like, if you are holding on to something, it could cause that cancer. Like when you think of colon cancer, it's like not wanting to let go of something, not letting go of the past anger, those sorts of vibes. If you're feeling repressed in some way, today could be a day where it's like, I need to just take responsibility for what I'm feeling, and I need to let it out.
I mean, also when you have, I mean, I'm not a doctor or anything, but it's like when you have a secret or something like that, it can like give you anxiety, which like affects your like kind of like digestion in a way, where you're just like, it makes you feel like sick.
Yes,
because you're like have something that you're holding on to that you need to let go of.
exactly. I love this book. This is like one of my favorite references is Louise Hay, Heal Your Body, where she goes into like all the different body parts and what they mean. And it's interesting to sort of connect this to astrology and thinking about Scorpio and Scorpio being bathroom activities. And when you look at what the colon means, problems with the colon are holding on to the past, fear of letting go. So
Wait, did you know that before you said it, or that was just your astrological interpretation
no,
based on?
I've been looking at I just it
Oh,
came up yesterday in a reading
okay.
with somebody, and so I was like, oh wow, this is so interesting, and so I had
I
to
mean, it
look at it to
ties.
get it. It
Yeah, it
ties
ties
right
directly
in.
into.
Exactly. It's wild. So um but this is, ask yourself, what is it that I'm holding on to that I want to release? Especially with regards to any karmic bonds, how you're sharing your magic, sharing your energy, and how you're engaging in the community. What do you want to release? Stop hiding and let go. So as we move on to Tuesday, January 17th, the moon continues through Scorpio and is now aligning with Pluto, the god of death, lord of the underworld, the planet of transformation, and the planetary ruler of Scorpio. Though Pluto is in the cardinal earth sign symbolized by the goat, Capricorn. And so through this release, there's a transformation. And through that transformation, you're able to level up in becoming an authority. Taking responsibility for what you're feeling puts you in a position of power within yourself, where you can say that this is how I feel. I'm going to take responsibility for what I feel. And by taking responsibility for what you feel, now you are in a position of authority. You're not pointing fingers about anything else. It's like, this is how I feel. So, in taking responsibility for that on Monday, which was the connection to Saturn, which is the planetary ruler of Aquarius, but also the planetary ruler of Capricorn, where Pluto is right now connecting to the moon. Hopefully, through that release, you're able to go through a transformation that is going to help you level up.
I mean, I also think of Capricorn as the sign of responsibility, but also work, hard work. So yesterday, maybe you felt that restriction and there was like an uncomfortable with sharing, but now you're kind of doing it, whatever the thing is that you were like hiding. It's like now you're able to do whatever that secret thing was. You're like out in the open with it. So it
Yes,
doesn't feel so scary. It's like a kind of like you're feeling free and there's like a comfort in just like existing now without this like weight on your chest of having to hold it inside. It's not really a secret anymore.
absolutely. Absolutely. That's why it's a big transformative week, where you're going, if it's not a secret anymore, you change.
Mm-hmm.
Now, all of a sudden, people are perceiving you differently than they did before. And your perception of them changes too because of their reaction to what you've just shared.
Yeah, if they're
And that,
receptive, you're going to feel more comforted. And if they're not receptive, you're going to feel like further away from them.
but at least you have that clarity, right? You have
Yeah.
that
Well, you need to
clarity of
know.
you need to know exactly. This is who I am. How do you feel about it? Okay, you feel good. Then I feel good about showing myself to you. You don't feel good. Okay, then that just means that I need to move away from you and that energy.
Mm-hmm.
So the transformation continues on Wednesday, January 18th, as the sun, the giver of light, life, and vitality, moves into conjunction, the same degree and the same sign as Pluto in Capricorn. So Tuesday was the emotional transformation. Wednesday is the transformation to the battery that's powering your human ship, your identity. Then there's also Mercury, which is in Capricorn, which ends its retrograde today. Hooray! But Mercury will remain in its retrograde shadow until February 6th. So just be mindful. that Mercury is going to be stuck at this 8 degrees here, which interestingly enough was the same degree that Mars is stuck at 8 degrees, where it ended its retrograde last week on January 12th. So both of these planets that have been retrograde have now slowed to a stop. They're getting ready to move forward, to move direct. So this is an opportunity to sort of pick up those last pieces and put together the finishing touches of everything that you've been working on to clear off your plate.
The thing that comes to mind for me for this alignment would be acceptance.
Mm-hmm.
So like our mind is able to accept the Mercury, the mind part is able to accept the Pluto's transformation that has happened, and now the sun is there also. So it's like we're just living in this new space now. We're not feeling so emotional about it. Maybe yesterday was like a little bit of a precursor to actually existing in this space. Maybe, yeah, yesterday was more of an internal reaction to maybe putting yourself out there.
Well, it's like you were saying before, that the sun is what we can see. So yesterday was that internal transformation with the moon, which is more of an introverted expression. It's something that you only show to the people that you're closest to, whereas the sun is that part of us that is more easily visible.
I was just thinking, now that you said that about the moon, it's like, well, maybe people who have Cancer in their primal triad, the moon rules Cancer.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's why that we're seeing more of their emotions externally. It's not as hidden as most people.
Yes.
That's I don't know, that's my take.
I love it. Yeah. So you're saying that because the moon is in alignment with Saturn and then Pluto, there becomes a bigger emotional expression.
Oh, I was just saying in someone's personal chart, like if someone just has their moon in Cancer.
Oh, well, if their moon is in Cancer, then what? They're going to be feeling more emotions.
Or even just like expressing emotions more as well. Like people are going to be able to see it more.
Maybe. I mean, of course, it all depends on like what planets are connecting to each individual's moon. With these planets in Capricorn, like the sun and Pluto and Mercury, there's the possibility there's an opposition to the moon. Okay. But just in like a general sort of speaking, like when the moon is in Scorpio, I feel like regardless of where the moon was when you were born, it is going to bring about a deeper feeling that is something that you may want to hide or hide from. Like, you know how you're always saying like, oh, the moon is in Aquarius. Like I love when the moon's in Aquarius because it means I don't feel as much because you're a Cancer moon. Well, when the moon is in Scorpio, we all feel what it's like to be born with the moon in Scorpio. And people that are born with the moon in Scorpio are extremely psychic, but they don't really like to know that they are. Like it's too scary for them to know. Yes, it's like they feel the psychic power and they're like, oh no, that's scary. I don't want to deal with that. And their psychic abilities come up when they are emotional. And so they tend to really suppress their emotions or hide from their emotions or hide their emotions from other people. So when the moon is in Scorpio, we take on that frequency. Shall we move on to Thursday?
Yeah.
Thursday, January 19th, now's where the moon gets wild because it's transited into Sagittarius, the mutable fire sign symbolized by the archer, forming a sextile with Saturn. So on Monday, the moon was squaring Saturn. On Thursday, the moon is sextiling Saturn. So Monday, we were feeling that restriction. We gotta share what we're feeling, but I'm feeling restricted. If you haven't shared it by Monday, then it's coming out on Thursday, because when the moon is in Sagittarius, that's when we all become more blunt in our emotional expression, more honest, more truthful. more expressive. The emotions get bigger because Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter, the planet of expansion.
And you
So
can't hide it anymore. There's no
can't
hiding
hide
it.
it. Exactly. And that's kind of the every sign is like inhale, exhale. Like we talk about like the full moon and the new moon being the new moon being the inhale and the full moon being the exhale. Each fire or air sign is like an exhale. Each earth or water sign is like an inhale. So, because the earth and water are introverted energies, and the air and fire are extroverted energies. So, when you think of Scorpio, that's that's inhale, that's introverted, that's hiding everything. Then the next sign is Sagittarius. It's that expressive, like I'm going to show you everything. This is dancing around the fire naked on the beach. It's that Burning Man energy. That's what Sagittarius is. So everything is an ebb and flow. The pendulum always swings the other way. And so that's what we're getting now with so how would you like to express your emotions in the community, honestly, truthfully, bluntly, if need be? How can you connect to your spiritual nature in a way that's going to satisfy you emotionally and do so within the group, within the community? Yes, taking responsibility to be honest in your expression. Okay, Friday, January 20th, the sun is in Aquarius. The sun moves into Aquarius today. So on Wednesday, the sun made its final contact with another planet in Capricorn, which was Pluto, creating that transformation. Through that transformation, now we've transformed into that extroverted expression. So Capricorn is the inhale. It's about taking responsibility for yourself. The exhale, Aquarius, is about taking responsibility for the community. In order to take responsibility for your role in the community, you have to first take responsibility for yourself. You have to know who you are. You have to have a clear path about what it is you want to accomplish and achieve. And once you've achieved what you want to accomplish and achieve, now you're ready to give it back to the community. So when you think of Aquarius, it's all about the community. Why? Because the water bearer, which is why Aquarius is an air sign, because the water bearer breathes air. But the water bearer is that individual that lived a long time ago in a village so primitive that everyone in the village went down to the stream each and every day to drink water and bathe like an animal. But one night, sitting around the campfire, the water bearer said to the other villagers, I have an idea. I'm going to figure out how to bring water from the stream to the village. And all the other villagers looked at each other and then they bursted out laughing. Ha 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 ha. This water bearer person is crazy. They're crazy. How could you even bring water from the stream to the village? That's not possible. Nobody's ever done that before. And so that is the Uranus energy of Aquarius, that freak energy that says, I have an outside the box idea that if I speak it to people in my group, they're going to think I'm nuts. But then there's that Saturn energy, the other planetary ruler of Aquarius, that says, I don't care what they say. I'm going to do the work required in order to bring my crazy idea into reality. And that's exactly what the water bear did. So many moons later, when the water bear showed up in the village with a jug full of water, all those villagers that said the water bear was crazy are now saying, oh, she's a genius. And so that's the energy for the next 30 days. The sun is bringing light, life, and vitality for you to embrace your inner Aquarian, to be somebody who is very proud of what makes you unique, what makes you different from everyone else, and understanding that your individuality is a gift to society. The shadow side of this Aquarius energy, and we might have talked about it last week, Ingrid, with Pluto moving into Aquarius you
Yeah,
know,
me
and how
too.
that's going to bring about a big shift this year, but really next year when it fully moves in there. But, you know, this is the shadow side of Aquarius is everybody looks the same, talks the same, thinks the same, does the same. That's the shadow side of Aquarius. That's boring. That's Stepford Wives that's a Stepford Wives frequency.
Yeah.
And so what the light side of Aquarius is like, I'm me, you're you, we're different from each other, and that's good. You know, I don't have to even like you, but I do respect that you are who you are, and that's your belief, and your belief is crazy to me, but whatever, it's fine. We're all here on planet Earth. We have to learn how to live here together. And so the next 30 days is about that. How can you embrace your inner freak? How can you embrace your individuality? What are you trying to invent that everybody might think that you're crazy for trying to do, but you know it's going to progress society into the future because it's going to create greater independence for everyone that uses your amazing invention. And we're moving into the age of invention with Pluto moving into Aquarius.
I mean, I'm looking ahead at Saturday, and the only difference
Oh
for
boy.
Saturday is now the moon is there. Now the moon is there too. So
Yes. So what does that mean, Ingrid? What is this?
we're just like feeling more about it.
Well, it's the new moon in
Oh.
Aquarius.
Okay, so we're setting our intentions now.
So now we're setting our intentions to be an individual. I want to
I
set
love
my
this.
intentions to be an individual. What is the me that is just me? And it's not trying to be anybody else. It's just trying to be myself. It's getting in touch with myself, what makes me unique, not worrying about what other people think, because what other people think doesn't matter. They might not understand me, but that's okay. They don't have to understand me. What's important is for me to understand myself and to embrace myself. And you know what's going to happen when I understand myself and I embrace my own individuality? I'm going to attract a whole lot of other freaks around me that suddenly it's going to be like, wow, we're all weird. And you know what? We're different from each other, but we're the same in that we're embracing our individuality. And we respect each other and we appreciate each other and we support each other towards a common goal, a common cause, through embracing what makes each and every one of us an individual. That is what makes any group, any club, any organization successful or great, is by having a bunch of individuals that are different from one another, but working towards a common goal. So what is that focus for you moving through the next lunar cycle?
I mean, it's nice that yesterday you really are having those feelings about needing to be that individual in the community, you know, putting yourself out there, whatever your ideas. And then the next day you're like, okay, I'm going to set some intentions around it. I'm going to really put some energy into how I want to show up there.
Absolutely. What do I want to take responsibility? What is my role in the community? What am I contributing to the group? What do I bring to the potluck? Are we all bringing green beans, or is everybody bringing their own unique dish that works with the theme of the meal? You know, that's how we want to flow here. So, and I want to mention that if you are curious to know how this lunar cycle is going to be affecting you, the new moon in Aquarius and the full moon in Leo, if you're curious to know how this lunar cycle will be affecting you directly, I encourage you to enroll in my moon cycle classes, which are available at theweeklytransit.com. Okay. Moving on to Sunday, January 22nd, and now it's a full party. You know, there's 5 different planets that we're looking at here, or 4 planets and 1 key astrological point, the North Node, the soul's purpose, and the karmic pathway of the soul, transiting through the fixed Earth sign symbolized by the bull, Taurus, aligning in a positive trine with Mercury in Capricorn. So this alignment here is really bringing that focused mental attention towards what it is you want to accomplish and achieve, your goals, your ambitions with regards to your self-worth and what you value. Now there's another planet that we're looking at here, which is not connecting to anything, but it's also in Taurus along with the North Node. That's Uranus, the planetary ruler of Aquarius, the freak, the primordial sky god, the planet of revolution, rebellion, innovation, independence, and the unexpected. Uranus is ending its retrograde transit today. Uranus has been retrograde since August 24th. Where it is right now is exactly where it was on May 7th. So think back to where you were on May 7th, 2022, and what shifted for you between May 7th and August 24th. What shifted within you in terms of your self-worth and what you value, and what shifted within you between August 24th and January 22nd, where we are right now. Now, by the time we get to March 9th, that is when Uranus will be back where it was on August 24th. So this is just shaking up our relationship to the material, to our self-worth and what we value. Again, Uranus, the last time Uranus was in Taurus was 1935 to 1942. The time before that was 1851 to 1858. So 1935 to 1942 was during the Great Depression and World War II. 1851 to 1858 was during the Gold Rush, when people were so desperate that they got in a horse and buggy and traveled thousands of miles across the continental U.S. to put a pan in gold and a pan in water and hope that gold would appear. So we're back there, and how many people do you know that have moved, that have left and gone from this town to that town, this state to that state, this country to that country, looking for a place? Yeah.
And even in our daily lives, I went to the grocery store the other day and I was like looking for organic milk. It was $10 for a gallon of milk. And that was the first time I've ever been like, can I live here? What is happening? It's not like we're like wages are really going up or anything. Like the prices of housing is going up, and like what are people supposed to do that don't make as much money? Like I'm struggling and I make decent money. Like what if you're not making good money to begin with? What if you have a family? Like milk, $10?
Totally.
That's absurd.
It's
like, and that's just in my lifetime. I'm pretty sure it's like $3 when I was growing up. Like that's not even, and even till maybe 10 years ago, I don't think there was much of a fluctuation in these prices. And so just in this very short amount of time, I feel like there is a big shift in the last like 10 years of cost of living.
Absolutely. I mean, I don't want to say that it's as bad as the Great Depression when people were like standing in line for food, but it's that same vibe where, just everything is more expensive, and it's way more expensive than like just the increase has been more than like what is typically normal or what seems to be normal.
Yeah. And it's like, oh, you're making $3 an hour more. It's like, well, you're not making 50% more money.
No, exactly.
But everything's 50% more expensive or 200% more expensive, right?
I don't know what the numbers are. I read an article a while ago that looked at like what it would have cost to go to like Disneyland back in like 1963 or something, what it would cost to go to a baseball game and what it would cost to go to the movies. And if you did like the inflation based on what people are making, it would have been like probably, I don't know, I'm just guessing, but it was something like 10 to 25% of what it actually costs right now. Like, the prices have gone up, like you said, like 200, 300, 1,000 times. It's insane. So people have to ask themselves during these times, like, is this really important to me? Is it important to me to go to this baseball game, to these movies, or to Disneyland or whatever?
Even
or
just
do
to
I
go
need
out to eat? Like,
to go out to eat?
I swear
exactly.
to God, I went to Fat Burger. This is a fast food establishment. There's no service. There's nothing fancy. I got a hamburger and a milkshake. Guess how much it was?
$25.
It was $20. I was like, literally, what the fuck? What the fuck? Like, for $20, I'm like, you can buy like a nice, like an entree at a restaurant, like a decent restaurant.
Yeah.
And I just I was just in shock. I was like, there's no way. It was half as much. I'm like, I could see $10 for a hamburger and milkshake from a fast food place.
Yeah,
Like,
no,
and even
that
that's a
was
little expensive, but like $20? What is going on? Is that just California or is that just everywhere? Is it like the taxes?
well.
I don't know. I was just shocked.
I'm sure that California is the most, along with maybe New York, is
Yeah.
the most expensive place. But I think if any place in the country, prices are going up in that way. I'm sure that, yeah.
It's just me. It sparked me and my friend talking about like, what are people going to do? She's like, what about people that have families? They can't even. What if you took your kids? You had a husband and two kids. That's not even like crazy. So four people, it would cost them basically $100 almost to just eat fat burger for dinner.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Mm-hmm.
insane. Like when
Yeah.
you say the Dust Bowl, like people waiting in line for food, I'm like, that doesn't seem that far off. Like who can afford these type of things?
Exactly. Exactly. So there's, this is, and we're in the middle of it too. When you look here, Uranus is at 14 degrees. So there's 30 degrees in each sign. We got another 16 degrees to go before it gets to Gemini. It's not getting there for another, not until 2026, 2027. So we got another 3-4 years
Oh,
of
and then
this frequency.
I did want to say just in relation to that alignment that now that there's two earth signs there now. So Capricorn and Taurus are like the signs
Mhm.
of the material. So like yes, in the community, we're talking about the community, but now we're like bringing all of these thoughts and emotions that we were having around setting our intentions into reality. Capricorn
Mhm.
is doing this stuff, doing the work to get to where you want to be. So it's like kind of the perfect moving into after we set our intentions, doing the stuff and bringing it into reality, that Taurus energy, the actual material proof and like existence of the things that we want to do and
Yes.
doing them.
Yes, exactly. Mercury in Capricorn is directing your mind towards what it is you want to accomplish and achieve, your goals, your aspirations, what do you want to bring into reality? And the connection to the North Node in Taurus is are those goals in alignment with your self-worth and
Ooh.
what you value?
Okay, I
Are you
love that.
actually working towards something that is meaningful to you? Where
Yeah.
you're like, yeah, I feel like I'm honoring my self-worth here.
Well, it could be a day where you maybe redirect, where you're like, oh, maybe these goals were my parents' goals or my community's goals. They
Exactly.
weren't actually my goals, or that was just something that was easy for me. That just because it was easy, maybe that was your South Node stuff coming up. Like maybe you need to be doing something that's more in alignment with your inner landscape.
Yes. Yes. And especially coming off, the last full moon, which was in Cancer, which is about releasing that past frequency or the baggage from the past that is holding you back from accomplishing and achieving your goals. It's like your parents or family members that had expectations of you, maybe releasing some of that so that you can ascend towards what you truly want to accomplish. Now, the final alignment for Sunday, January 22nd, is Venus, Lady Luck, the goddess of love and beauty, the planet of relationships, conjunct at the same degree in the same sign as Saturn in Aquarius. So this is about taking responsibility for your relationships in the community, holding those within the group that you are a part of accountable for what they said they were going to bring to the dinner, while you are also holding yourself accountable for what you said you were going to bring.
And maybe also, wait, I think you just said this. They're
What is
also
it?
holding you accountable. Oh no, you're holding
Yes.
yourself accountable,
You're
but the
holding
community is
yourself, but you're holding them accountable?
but the big community is also going to be holding you accountable. So not only are you like looking at them,
Yes.
like make sure you do it, and I'm going to make sure I do it, but someone's going to come in and check you as well and be like, okay,
Exactly.
are you actually doing what you said you were going to do?
Yes,
Which is
exactly.
it's nice to have that checks and balances because it's so easy. Well, if there's no check system, it's really hard to stay on track sometimes unless we're reminded of it. Like, I mean, I think astrology is so amazing because we're constantly reminded of these things that we just lose track of because we're cleaning our house, we're going to work, we're taking care of our kids or whatever. It's hard to always stay focused. So I think astrology is like the perfect excuse to do a check-in.
Yes, exactly. I love it.
Well, thank you so much, Scott. Oh, wait.
Yeah.
Do you want to thank our
Oh,
sponsors?
let's thank our sponsors. Let's thank our sponsors. We almost went the whole show without thanking our sponsors. We love our sponsors. How can you sponsor the podcast, Ingrid?
If you go to the show notes, there is a sponsor link. You can donate $1, $5, or $10. It's a monthly donation to help us do more of what we love, sharing the planets and stars with you. Oh my God, I almost broke my table. Sharing
Don't
the
break your
planets and
table.
sharing the planets and stars with you. And if you don't have financial ways to donate to the podcast, sharing it with your friends, writing us a review, or buying the book.
Buy the book. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay. So let's thank our sponsors. I want to thank Larry, Deborah, Haley, Libby, Janelle, Nicole, Janine, Ricky, Amaranth, Vincent and Michelle, Catherine, Mardinas, Aline, Robin, Stephanie, Brenna, Cassie, Lori, Carrie, Annie, Brooke, Clarissa, and Amber.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you all so much for donating to the podcast. It really means so much to us.
Yes.
And thank you for all the amazing reviews and for sharing. You are the only reason that we are still doing the podcast is because you guys are supporting us, you know?
Yes,
So we appreciate
absolutely.
it.
People are listening and they're supporting us energetically and encouraging
Yeah.
us. We're very grateful.
Yeah,
Very,
and we love
very
like
grateful.
it's been really fun being on YouTube because I think people are a little more interactive there. Like there's always cool comments, but you can write us on Instagram at Ingaroo, Ingaroo, or at Scott at the Weekly Transit. And yeah, we just like hearing from everybody. It makes me feel more connected to being alive when I hear from human beings.
Yes.
Because it's just me and Scott, or we're just alone in our houses now. But yeah, we're just hanging out. So it's always just nice to hear from the community.
Yes, absolutely. Awesome, Ingrid.
Thank you so much, Scott.
You're welcome. Until next time.
Until next time. See you next week.
See you next week.
Thank you for listening to the Weekly Transit. Follow us on Instagram for daily updates about the planetary alignments and how to work with the energy. If this podcast is helping you navigate life more gracefully, please subscribe, rate us 5 stars, and share with your friends. If you're ready to go deeper, book a personal reading with Scott or sign up for his new moon, full moon class at theweeklytransit.com.
The Weekly Transit.